This is us. I have Simos. Did I say your name wrong, C? You know what? Simos. And then
Let's stick to the hammer. The hammer.
and then we have Jazz from the Rec Center.
Yeah.
I want to thank you guys for driving all the way up, that long drive. How long is your drive? It's not that long.
From my home to my office or to
Yeah,
work?
from here, like from your home to
Well,
here.
I live in Mississauga.
Yeah.
Our
So it's not
office
as bad
is in
as his, though.
Toronto. Well,
Yeah.
Well, I'm in Brampton.
It's not that different.
But we would have come from our office at Shops of Don Mills in Toronto,
Nice.
which is probably, I'd say 40 minutes.
Oh,
It
not
took us-
bad.
It wasn't bad today at all,
bad.
actually.
No.
It wasn't bad at all.
I'm not a big fan of Toronto, so Jamie will know that.
Yeah.
So of course I'm going to say,
I'm curious why, though. Why did you say that? Just
the driving, just the
Got it.
traffic. It's just,
Got it.
yeah. So, but you know what? It's a great place to invest, right? So that's what we're talking about today. We're talking about, what city with the CMHC incentive. I know we're capped at 540,000. What city now would you guys recommend to invest in?
Are you talking about the first-time home buyers?
Yes, that's correct. The CMHC incentive.
I got you.
Well, I think, like, first and foremost, without the incentive, I still think Toronto is the best place to invest. And I don't just say the best place to invest. I think it's actually the safest place to invest.
Smart.
Because we have 50, 60, 70-year track history of not only values going this way up, but we also see the fact that the 150,000 people that are coming into the Greater Toronto area, majority out of that number are coming like directly into Toronto. Reason being because the fundamentals are so strong, right? You have, that's where the jobs are, downtown specifically. Now, not everyone likes to live downtown. Kind of what you said as well, right, Carmen? Like, there's parking and there's traffic issues.
I have an issue with traffic.
So I get
Yeah.
that. And so there's people who want to live like right outside the core, something along the transit line.
And you guys handle all of that.
all of it.
Well, Jazz, I think it's also, maybe we'll do a little Mythbusters revelation here.
Yeah, let's do it.
So you mentioned 540 being the limit in
Yeah.
first-time home buyers, and people assume that I cannot live in Toronto for 540. The answer is you're wrong.
Yep.
So Toronto
You know
is
what?
inclusive.
Good. Let us know.
So
Come on.
right now Scarborough is on fire.
Yep.
Okay.
Scarborough is a major borough of Scarborough used to be its own city. After the amalgamation, became actually Toronto's largest borough and largest part. And there is, if you go on the MLS today, hundreds of listings at any time.
That's amazing.
For a first-time home buyer. That one bedroom plus den, that's priced under $500K.
And
Come
so,
on.
100%.
Are you
Not
serious?
maybe 100 for sure. We transact them all day.
And
That's amazing.
you're saying Scarborough, but even if you look like central of GTA and
Yeah.
Toronto, like around Yorkdale,
Yeah.
you can same thing.
Sure.
One bedroom plus dens. Right on. In fact, actually, this project that we have right now that's live right by Yorkdale, you can get 2-bedroom units for under $550,000. Okay, and so. The big difference is that a lot of people will start to say, yeah, you can't buy that single-family home, detached home in Toronto.
No.
Yeah, that's over $1 million. But why should you be able to afford that? It's Toronto. It's like the biggest city
that's
in the
really
country.
good to know, though. You can actually, you can actually buy for under 540. Like that's
Guys,
like,
when we're buying our first home, to the guy who's buying their first home, just the purchase price of the home is not all they have to worry about.
Yeah.
There
Yeah,
are
of
carrying
course, yeah, of
costs.
course.
There is transportation. There's so many things to consider. When we advise a new family or that person that's looking to come out of renting and get into home ownership,
Sure.
the purchase price is actually not the very first thing.
100%.
The carrying cost, their proximity to employment and the services they need.
For sure.
When you're looking to get counsel on making this move, if you're focused on the purchase price of the home, you're missing 80% of the picture.
You're
Well,
right.
yeah, I think Carmen, you and your team do a great job at that, right? It's not just
For sure.
Even though like your mortgage brokers and there's the mortgage payment and that component of your carrying costs, you got to look at even the things that no one talks about: internet, phone, cable,
sure. And we do that, yeah.
insurance. You got to work out all the carrying costs. You have the upfront land transfer taxes and the lawyer fees and all that, but that's not what's ongoing. You got to really look at those ongoing costs.
For
right?
sure. You have rebates for those too, right?
Yeah.
So your closing costs on that as a first-time home buyer.
Right.
But I do want to drop something here. You come into Hamilton and I sit here and I tell somebody, well, you're pre-approved for 550. They can't even buy in Hamilton 550 anymore. Because you had a lot of Toronto people migrating here,
But
right? And you can't even. I'm telling you right now. You look at a $400,000 home, and it's a fixer-upper, and that's downtown, like Hamilton. Downtown Hamilton, when I was flipping about 5 years ago, you were looking at prices of 160 to 200. You know what you're buying downtown now? 550,000.
Those are homes you're talking about, right?
We're talking about homes,
But so I think the dream of the white picket fence with a backyard, that no longer exists.
No, you're right.
So the people who are looking in that price range, you just
Straight
got to
up.
bring, you got to look at it from a different perspective. You can still live in downtown Toronto. You can still live in downtown Hamilton,
100%.
but you're not going to get the 3-bedroom, 2,500 square foot home. You're going to have to think about a 600, 700 square foot
You're right.
condo, one bedroom
right.
plus den. Some areas you can maybe even go up to two bedrooms.
You're right.
Especially that age group of 26 to 37, they don't even care about the white picket fence.
They don't
because
anymore. It's
they don't have the
convenience.
time. They don't have the
it's
time
not
anymore.
but it's not even real for them. That's not what they're looking for. So
No, you're
people
right.
used to get married at 20, have 3 kids by the time they're 28.
I know.
Yeah,
People
we're not
don't
living
get out
that
of
dream
university
anymore.
till 26.
No, you're right. We're not living that dream anymore.
Sure.
But how are you going to go down that path? You can't afford to.
Yeah, it's
You
true.
need an education. It's a very
But then you have your
competitive
student
environment.
loans, right? You're looking at student loans that you have to account for as well.
But we have 150,000 people coming into the GTA every year.
Mm-hmm.
You're competitive. You're competing for every job. You're competing for every house. You're
100%.
competing. This isn't
But I'm still stuck on you can actually buy a home for 500 or 550 in Scarborough.
100%.
Like,
you
buddy,
can.
like
All day
I'm,
long.
I'm actually like that's amazing to know. That's very
all
good
day
to know.
long.
I don't even know if viewers know that because the misconception. I'm in Hamilton, right? I'm in my little fortress. I'm living in Hamilton. My drive to work is literally 5 minutes, guys. So it takes me 5 minutes. If I go downtown core and it's 9 o'clock in the morning, I get here in 5 minutes. My traffic's not heavy. Like, is it the misconception that, you know, everywhere you go in Toronto, downtown Toronto, how long does it take you for 5 minutes to get down the road, right?
It depends
Like,
on
that's-
like if you're talking about like
that's what I'm saying.
8:30 in the morning or something.
I don't even have to
yeah.
worry about times though, Jazz. Like that's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
like, but you know, you just dropped that whole Scarborough thing. Like, dude, I didn't even know that, right? So like, that's amazing to know.
Well, there's Scarborough and there's even the Durham region. It might be a little further out and it's not right in the city of Toronto.
But there's train service straight to Union.
That's what it is, right? So you got train service, and I think it's about a 30-minute train right
That's
into
amazing.
Union Station, 35 minutes. And again, if you look at that age group, they're on their phones, they're listening to
Convenience,
Carmen's podcast, maybe our podcast, right?
Sure.
And so they're taking, it's that no extra time, right? Where they're able to do more things on the train. And you know, the amount of people we used to talk to 10, 15 years ago, and it was like, hey, I want to have a home, where that shift has happened. We're living it, where it's all about convenience now, lifestyle.
Well, we're
is
even
the number
seeing,
one thing.
We're even seeing now couples that we sold a home to 5 years ago. They've had their first or second child. They're not moving out of downtown anymore.
Wow.
They don't want to. They're going to go to Mississauga. They're going to go to Brampton. They're going to go to Richmond Hill to do what? To add an hour each way of traffic.
That's crazy.
So the benefits of moving to the burbs is now it's getting wiped out.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now we've seen 3-bedroom condos.
A lot more popping up.
So now, not in the very core, which they're there too, but we're seeing the Etobicoke, the 427 in Gardner, all those areas like that are hubs with highways that still have direct access to subway.
That's amazing.
Build those 3 bedrooms, and the buyers are the downtown buyers that are selling their 1+ den or their 2-bedroom, and getting into something bigger that fits their lifestyle.
That's amazing. So what do those go for, price wise?
Which one's the exact like
The
3
3 beds.
bedrooms.
Well, the 3 bedrooms now, if you're in the downtown core, it's $1,100 to $1,100 price per square foot.
Nice.
So they're fitting 3 bedrooms in 1,000 square feet.
But
So
it's
do the math,
convenience, right? You're
Yeah.
paying for
Yes.
convenience, right? So
Well,
that makes
and
sense.
once you, it's hard, right? Once you get that bug of living downtown, specifically downtown Toronto, it's
You
tough
just
to
don't wanna
leave.
get out,
It's
right?
so tough to leave because you got everything there. You have the and our boy Jamie over there.
Yeah, he's getting all excited.
getting
He's
all
always
excited.
about Toronto. He's
Well,
always
it's
trying to get me in
true.
Toronto,
Right.
you know?
It's true, right? From now, we're talking a lot about someone who's going to be an end user.
Yeah.
From an investment perspective, what a lot of people think in Toronto is that you can't have your rental income cover your expenses. That's a huge myth.
That's a myth.
Like you
I
might
have heard that though.
That's a myth.
It's a huge because they're not running the numbers properly. Because what they're doing, especially if they're looking at a pre-construction condo, so that's something that you're buying today for a unit that's going to be built out in 3 years from now. You don't use today's rents. You're not even working the numbers
So let me
properly.
ask you a question. Do you guys do that for your
like
investors?
turnkey. turnkey.
Like,
no, but
do
the
you
due
do
diligence.
the calculation? Do
so,
you do?
so we pride ourselves.
That's what
we,
I'm saying.
We commit
yeah.
a tremendous amount of time and energy
Yeah.
to put an efficient,
Good.
accurate, to the best of our ability. We don't have
Of course.
crystal balls either.
But let's talk about that though, Simeon.
That's
Like
what
when
I'm
you work
saying,
the
yeah.
numbers, because Simeon works our rental numbers, and he's
Oh,
very
he's passionate about it.
No, and
I
yes,
knew it. He got
and,
all passionate
and
like
he's
2
super
seconds.
diligent on it, and very, very conservative.
Yeah.
Because you don't use astronomical number increases
So
when you're
first and
increasing
foremost, the source that we get our data from.
Yeah.
It's either CMHC,
Good.
Canada Mortgage Housing
just
Corporation,
about to say,
that
yeah.
gives us the history, that gives us
course.
the picture today.
Yeah.
And we work with Urban Nation. Our brokerage, actually, Royal LePage Signature, has an exclusive contract.
Good.
Our data, not just the data that they put out
No,
there.
for sure.
We have our own special data and account with Urban Nation where we get the country's best numbers people,
Good.
data researchers and aggregators to pull together the information to give us the most accurate forecast that is available to the market in Canada.
That's amazing.
Those are the numbers that we use. And we use our experience. Well, we'll sit down. So we take these numbers from the numbers people.
Yeah.
And we'll sit down and we're like, do we agree? Have we driven that neighborhood?
I love
so
it.
let's talk about 427
I love
in
it.
Gardner. We drive by it every day. Well, we'll take a little detour and go for a ride. What do our eyes actually see? Do we see
That's
that
amazing.
revamp? Do we see the cranes coming? Do we see road closures? Are they digging up the roads to put bigger sewers and more power in the
That's
grid?
amazing.
These are real things. But we've been doing it for 15 years, Carmen.
And so when we're working
awesome.
the increases year over year for rent, so we're going to take today's rent and increase it by 2.5-3%.
That's amazing.
We've seen rents being increased by 11% month over month, which is real, true
That's
fact.
phenomenal.
We're going ultra conservative and saying, look, if the building is going to be built into call it 2022, so 3 years out, each year let's increase it by 3%. That's going to be that's going to be our calculated rent for
That's
3 years
amazing.
from now, and you'll be surprised how
That's
many
awesome.
times the rent actually covers all your expenses. Now, Hamilton's different, or Windsor, or London.
For
You
sure.
might see $500-$600 positive a month on
You
on
are
a property.
bang on about that.
Am I
You are
right? You're
bang
probably
on
right
about
around
that.
there. What we like to look at is you're not going to get that in Toronto, but in Toronto you're going to get like super conservative 5% year over year passive appreciation. In Hamilton, we're probably looking at 3%. Windsor, we're probably seeing 2.25%, maybe 2%. And so in Toronto, you got to look at are you doing this for cash flow, or are you doing this to create wealth? Because if you're looking at it from the perspective of creating wealth long term,
Yeah.
then the $500 a month, let's think about that. That's $6,000 a year positive cash flow in the outside
For sure,
areas.
yeah, I know.
After you pay taxes on that $6,000, what are you really left with? $4,000, $4,200 at the end of the year.
And I think people miss that. The
Probably
tax
didn't change your
component.
lifestyle much.
Yeah.
You might be able to get some nicer shoes, like our director of sales, Laura.
Yeah,
she
you
might,
know
She
what?
might be able to get
Let's
some
point
nicer
that
shoes
out.
and stuff, right? But we're only talking about $4,000, $4,200 at the end of the year. Where in Toronto, that same, let's take a $500,000 condo, $500,000 home, you're looking at $25,000 just on the passive appreciation. $10,000 a year on the principal recapture. It's $35,000 you made. Now we're talking about creating wealth. We're not talking about monthly
I
cash
know
flow
exactly what
stuff.
you mean, yeah.
Just a different set of glasses to look at it.
So
from.
I want to know so I'm a new investor, right? I'm in Hamilton, not educated on the Toronto market. I come see you. What does that look like? Right? What are you gonna do for
Let's
me?
see his
right?
handsome face first.
Yeah, first it's
First you're
going
gonna
to
see this
and that
handsome
nice
face.
beautiful bracelet.
All right. So what we do is we always start with a coffee. So it's a very casual environment.
You
It's where
won
we
me
sit
over.
down. That's right. Cheers to that.
Thanks to your hubby for this coffee today.
No, we always start with a coffee. We sit down, and there is seriously, like, to answer the question legitimately, there is
Yeah,
no
for
way
sure.
to answer that. Everybody's goals are different.
For sure.
So if somebody is investing, if somebody is 55 years old and they're thinking of slowly like winding down their business or
Okay.
their job and they want to retire and they need to replace income, they're looking for cash flow.
But you're doing that intake information.
But we're doing a full intake.
Of course,
over
that's what
a
I'm saying.
coffee where-
Not just like any agent that will take your money and be like, let's invest.
no,
Let's figure
no,
out.
no,
You're
no,
you're
no.
doing long-term goals.
So that's all we do.
That's
all we do
amazing.
is we actually don't sell any real estate to anyone if we don't know everything about them.
That's awesome.
We will never put ourselves in that position. So we start with a coffee. We understand who the
amazing.
person is and what they actually want to do. If they ask for our advice, we will give and pipe in what we think is best for them.
It's amazing.
But we definitely make sure we understand they know what's best for them. They know what they want to do, and then we take them down whatever path we need. We typically, again, if they're coming to the Toronto market, it's pretty much a given that you're looking to grow wealth from the back end.
Yeah.
If they are looking for cash flow, we will typically put them in the periphery.
I think the overarching,
Which makes sense. You just said that, right?
Yeah,
you were just saying that.
yeah, our overarching thesis around the Toronto real estate market is buy and hold, and so we probably, between myself and Simeon and our team, we probably lose out on 50 to 70 clients a year because they come to us and say, hey, how do we get rich quick in real estate? And because we don't believe in it, we also like to sleep well at night. And so we don't suggest buying something, putting some lipstick on it and flipping it because it's such short-term thinking.
But it's not the market.
And
that was my market.
that's not our...
7-8 years ago, I did a ton of houses. And I was making good money, but there was a time where it just stopped.
Just not,
right?
and that's just not really our business model. So because we don't do it...
No, but that's a business. Do you see what you just said? Business model.
Exactly. And so because it's not our personal business model where we do that, we like to buy and hold. And Toronto really is fantastic. It's not the only market in the world or the country, but we live and breathe like we were born and raised there, and so we truly believe that it is one of the best, for sure, from a buy and hold perspective.
For sure.
That because that being the overarching thesis, we won't deal with the get rich quick scheme. Yeah.
Well, and that's a business, and I'll go back to that because you're saying this was your business, this is what you did. Well, what if you sucked?
There was a time.
No,
what if you sucked?
But what if you sucked? What if you
sucked?
weren't good at it? You would have just sunk capital into the market.
You're right. No, you're
lost
right.
your shirt and said, "Oh, real estate sucks. Real estate's not a great investment." You're wrong. Your business model sucked.
That's right.
Or your business model was brilliant.
For sure.
And then the next person who doesn't know their head from their what have you.
But these shows are doing this, though. You guys are aware. The shows are flip this house, right?
Yeah.
So everybody wants, listen, you come into Hamilton and that's all you're getting.
Yeah.
You're getting that. You're getting flip this home. And it's
Well,
honestly becoming ridiculous because there's no capital now. You're buying at like way inflated prices here, right? So what I used to pay for downtown Hamilton, I'm telling you, was about $300,000. You're now paying $500,000-$600,000. And you still have to do it up. Is it worth it, right? Like I remember the last house I bought, I would buy under 30,000 below list. They told me 10,000 over list. I'm like, 10,000. Okay, this isn't the house for me. You know what? I'm done. I'm done with the market because we weren't at that point anymore. I just lost capital and it's not worth it for me. But we did have a business model, right? It was a great model until Toronto started coming in, and that was whether it's a misconception or not. Toronto started coming in, and they would
would
buy. That's what I'm
fact.
saying. But people would say it's a myth, though. You hear that now, right? Like everybody's saying, "Oh no, it wasn't," but it was. People came in and they were paying. Like I remember selling one of my houses in central Hamilton. I bought it for, I think it was $220, and I flipped it like not even, and I was holding it as a rental. I flipped it in that area. You would get $260 max. I got $300,000, or $400,000. It was the craziest thing. I'm like, 104. What did I do to the house? I did nothing to it. I didn't fix it.
But what made you sell it?
Why did I sell it?
Yeah.
It was opening the Costa group. So I needed
So
capital.
you needed the capital.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
So
Everybody's got their own point of view, right? So and I would have kept it had I, but then privates, you're getting into privates, you're lending out your money. Like it's a different business model. So that's what we chose to do at that time.
2000.
And I couldn't stand tenants. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's awesome. Look, I mean, we're just kind of flowing. I love it.
And that's one of the actually key questions of our intake form. What is your opinion on tenants?
Yeah,
because if it's like I can't stand tenants, well, you're not buying a rental property.
I can't. And you know what? I was not. That you would have been like X-nay on you, Carmen. You're not doing it.
Well, it's one of the main reasons we started offering property management and tenant placement.
Oh, I would have loved that at the time.
We would hear people say, I heard a horror story, but for every one horror story, there's thousands of success stories.
Yeah.
It's like going to a restaurant. If the food's good, you generally don't talk about it. When it's bad, everyone knows about it, right?
Facebook, so many.
Everything, right? With tenants, it's kind of the same thing. Like you don't
even more so.
There's really not that many problems that come up, and the ones that do, it's actually the landlord's fault.
Didn't do your due diligence.
You didn't do your due
to- yeah,
diligence. You just
for
picked
sure.
anyone, and
We've
because
heard
you were
that, yeah.
because you were desperate or you felt desperate, you just picked up on a tenant. You didn't do any back checks on them. Like you can check Facebooks, you can check Instagram.
See, I'm a PI person. I just
so
want you guys to know.
that's perfect.
I'm PI. Like I check every person.
As you should.
I'm checking. I'm PIing. I'm making sure that they're good, right? So
I always use
I did that as well.
I always use the analogy: if you lend me your car right now, you'll probably check up on me every couple of hours. Just say, Jazz, just checking in, everything good. You really don't give a crap about me. You care about the car. But what we do with homes is we give them out to people.
I'd be calling you every 5 minutes. I'm
We rent them out, and then we get first and last month's rent and 10 post-dated checks, and then you don't even check up on the tenant, and then you go there and the place is wrecked, and then you wonder why.
Yeah.
You didn't even check up on it. You didn't check up on the tenant. You didn't maybe drop off a $20 bottle of wine. This tenant is your customer who's paying you
You're so right, though. You do hear stories about that,
$10,000,
right?
$10,000 a year minimum just
And
on
they have
them.
your home.
How much they're paying your mortgage down
Yeah.
by. So if someone's giving you a bag full of money that like of $10,000, be a little nice to them. Drop off a bottle of wine for $20.
Go check on your property.
You know what I mean? I'm not even there yet.
Go check on your property, man.
like
Grow up going on.
take care of your customers, right? Some basic customer service, right? And so, there's a reason why you hear the horror stories is because the landlord was lazy.
No,
Most
for
of
sure.
the-
And
most
I
of the
think
time,
I'm
not
gonna
all the
say I was probably that landlord. Just saying.
I got a
You
funny
know?
little story for you. Mississauga and Blair home.
Yeah.
My father-in-law's property. You get a call 2-3 years ago. We had a tenant in there. Let's call him Mr. J. So Mr. J.
Mr. J.
Mr. J's a little late on rent. My father-in-law calls me. He goes, Simos, what do I do? Portuguese. Simos, what do I do?
I love it.
What do you do? I was like, well, let's drop by. Let's take a look at what's going on. So we're pulling up to the house, and the guy was sitting in the garage. So these are the built in the 1970s semis, duplexes.
Yeah. I know
with
what you mean. Yeah,
driveways that slope
Goes
down
right
a
in.
little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, I know exactly.
So the basements are all walkouts.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
two-door.
Yeah.
Okay. So these were the basement tenants. The garage door is open. The garage belonged to the downstairs tenant.
Of course.
And he sees the car pulling up. He runs out of the garage and closes the button. It's not like we're seeing him do this. Like he sees us, we see him. He runs out of the garage and closes the button. I'm like, something's going on in the garage.
Grow up.
There you go.
So we get there. I'm like, hi, Mr. J. I don't want to say his name. Hi, Mr. J. How are you? He goes, good. I was like, well, what's happening with the rent? You know what I mean? Like, do we need to serve a notice, or
Like
is
you
this
gotta
just a matter
grow
of
up and you can't pay rent.
Is it a matter of is it a matter of a couple of days? He goes, no, we'll sort out the rent. Everything will be okay. I was like, do you mind popping in the garage?
No.
And he goes, why? I was, do you mind popping in the garage? Like, do you want me to come with a 24-hour notice? Pop the garage, please. He goes, is it legal for you to come in? I said, do I need a 24-hour notice, or are you going to let me look at the garage?
That's hilarious.
It's very simple. He opens the garage. And he goes, okay. And I'm like, did you build a wall? Like, he did a false wall to bring the back wall to the front, like nobody would notice. Like, I don't know if he was spending too much time on YouTube.
Sure.
So he did like a hidden room with a false wall, like, you know, like a false in your bag.
Yeah.
Like to hide
That's
the smuggle.
amazing. though.
Amazing. With a little door exactly mirroring the back wall. And I was like, is that a new wall that you just installed?
Couldn't
I was
pay the
like-
rent because he was building the new
I was
wall.
like, what's in it? He goes, no. Hey, he goes, it's exactly what happened. So there was no weed in there, but what there was was like 6 lights. Okay, so
he was getting started.
He was getting
He was
started.
getting started. Yeah.
And-
See,
and I look at
that's
him-
huge that you went and saw it.
See?
If
That's
you
what I
never
mean.
went and you go 2 months later, whose fault is it? Like he's
Seriously,
doing something
yeah.
illegal back then. Obviously, it was illegal, so that's one thing. But it probably
Well,
kinda-
let's
you gotta
talk
be
about that
accountable,
now, though.
right?
Like, let's talk about now. You're saying that it's not. So, you as a landlord, I'd love to know what are the parameters around a grow up in your house. Like, I know that if I had my own house and you were renting from me, I don't want marijuana. I don't even smoke that stuff. So I don't want that stuff in my house. So what's the parameters
So
around
we
that,
actually
guys?
just interviewed Mark on that.
Yeah, we did
Yeah.
a Mark Weisletter, real estate lawyer in the city, and we had him on our podcast to talk about this as well. And it's still early. There hasn't been enough
Right?
cases. There's not
However-
enough data yet.
But so if you walk in and there's a grow up, like if it's 1 or 2 plants,
Okay, but
You
that's,
can't do
that's
anything.
legal.
You can do.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right.
I don't think, but there's not much you can do.
Yeah.
But if you walk into a grow up,
Yep.
the moisture, the heat from the lights present dangers.
Yep.
So nobody can get away with those, is what he was saying.
Yes.
Even though there's a lot of data and there's a lot of precedent as to actually prosecuting people in doing.
Yeah, yeah.
But if there is a clear danger to the home, the health of the surroundings, mold, etc.
Yep.
Yeah.
You can get those people evicted immediately. You can seek damages. There's a lot you
Especially
can
when
do.
it comes to condos, right? Because it goes
Especially
through the
condos.
ventilation and all that kind of
For
stuff.
sure.
And so,
Well, that's good to know. So it's on your podcast. Which number? Because you're like up
This
to
one
like
was-
100 and something.
Yeah, I think we're at episode like 80 and change, to be exact. Thanks for the
Now,
shout out.
see how-
We appreciate
See how I
it.
overreact with that? They actually have 100 and no, I'm kidding.
That was that was probably in the 30s or 40s or something
Yeah,
like that.
good to know,
Yeah,
good to know.
Yeah. And so, like I said, there's not a lot of precedent right now, and so give it a year, and we'll start to see a lot more data come through.
That's
Yeah,
good.
for sure.
So tell me what the rec center is about. I would like to know. I watch your podcasts. I watch your manager every morning. I'm like, what is she wearing? But it's every Friday, so clearly I lied to her. It's every Friday.
No, but I think she comes out with like probably that's a
I
fashion
thought I
Friday.
see her all the time.
That's something
Right?
else. You do what is it? OOTD or something?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
sorry. Well, anyways,
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, I have 4 kids, so I'm like, oh, her life is so awesome with her dog.
Shout out to Rudy. Shout out to Rudy.
Yeah, so let me know, like, what information. I know you interviewed Gary Vee. I watched that episode.
Yeah.
But let us know, like,
Actually,
you're doing
us
the
4
positive.
in this room actually went to New York
That's amazing.
to do Gary.
Yeah. Let us
well-
know what your podcasts are about. Like, let the our
Well, there's
listeners
actually two
know.
parts because you asked the question what
Yeah.
the rec center. So rec stands for REC. Simeon, why don't you take that and then I'll talk a little bit about the media arm of it. But what is REC and who are we, my man?
Yeah, and I think one thing led to the other. The REC is the real estate center, and that is
Nice.
we trade real estate. We do about 50 to 75 transactions a month
Amazing.
as a group.
Nice.
Myself and Jazz still transact real estate every single day.
You know, props to you guys. Running this shop here, it's hard, man.
It's
Hard. Like,
For sure.
doing the nitty gritty, trying to recruit, trying to do it, because you guys are doing all of that.
Yeah.
Like, props out to you guys for
Yeah, I mean, we've
being
grown
able
our
to
team-
still do that, man.
in the last couple of years, we've gone from 20 agents to 35 agents.
Yeah, I get it. Trust me,
8
it's
support
hard.
staff.
8
Yeah.
support staff. So the company has grown a lot, but the very essence of REC Canada, the Real Estate Center Canada, is the fact that we transact real estate and we take pride in our due diligence
Nice.
in our advisory into investment real estate.
Yeah.
We have a huge team that services everyday residential and commercial services. So
Amazing.
a guy wants to buy and sell their home and etc. Myself and Jazz specifically are extremely focused on being investment-focused realtors.
Amazing.
And we counsel hundreds of people a year.
Yep.
Maybe thousands. I don't even know. Like, honestly, like hundreds of people go through our office every day
That's amazing.
looking for advice. And going out to the media arm, we were sitting around talking about scalability. How do you do this? How do you do that? And Jazz, we used to be on the radio for years.
Oh, really?
And we went through a time where we had management changes and our partner passed away. And there was a lot of there was a 2-year time frame where we had a huge shakeup, a corporate shakeup. After all is said and done, we're sitting around and Jazz is like, there is ways to do this. There's a lot of new ways to do this. I've looked into it. This is what I want to do. And I was like, okay, talk to me about it. And he goes, well, the internet, Gary Vee, he put out this model and I love it. I'm in love with it. I think I can do it, and I'm going to smash it. I said, what do you want me to
Buddy,
tell you?
like,
Yeah.
you killed it, though, man.
No,
you
I
killed it,
really
buddy.
appreciate it. And
Like, seriously, I remember talking to you. I went to an investment, and I say this to Jamie, and he's like, I don't think so. I'm like, you weren't there. It was me and my husband. We came out to see one of you guys put on a seminar, which was phenomenal. The food was great. You had vegetarian options, so my husband loved you guys for that. And you had alcohol. So you were talking about just a couple of things for your investors.
oh, this was at our office. Yes,
but you
Carmen.
came over and you were like, you're doing an awesome job.
Uh-huh.
Never heard of you. So then I'm like, oh, I'll add him on Facebook. And there was a lot you were doing. So I'm like, wow, this guy's modest. Like, you're doing a lot more. So I'm like, this is crazy. Because I was telling Jamie, I'm like, no, I think we were doing it first. And he's like, no, you weren't. He was doing it first. And I'm like, but he acted as though when we first talked the first time, because I met you, but I hadn't met you yet. And that day you came over to me that night and you said, you're doing a great job. I follow you on Facebook.
Yes.
So then I followed you back because there's so many people that add me. And
Sure.
you never know, right?
For sure.
So I'll tell you, like the seminar that you came to, when I say we see hundreds
Buddy, it was awesome.
hundreds of people, it's not
It
a
was
one-on-one.
jammed.
But that's what I mean. So like there was 100
Jammed.
people probably that night.
It was so hot in there. I had to walk out. That's why we talked. It was
It's
so
incredible.
damn hot,
Yeah.
but like
Yeah.
it was
Yes.
awesome though.
We're lucky we have.
No, but going back to the media,
Yeah.
that's how where Jazz said, you know what, there is no way that I can take 100 appointments in 1 week.
Yeah.
So the content that we do, like when I was talking about the coffee,
Yeah.
the advice that Jazz gives on the podcast on a day-to-day basis, when we come together right now and do this advice, this is what a coffee with the REC looks like.
That's amazing.
It's precisely what it looks like. It's a conversation. It's a conversation about you, the client.
That's
and
what I'm saying
options
to you.
have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So
sure.
that's our foundation.
For sure.
And that's kind of what gave birth to.
Yeah, so we heard, like, I heard of a podcast. I had to actually Google it, what it really meant, like what it was, what like how do people listen? Where do you upload stuff? And then as I started to dive into YouTube videos and stuff, and Simeon mentioned Gary V, I was watching. Okay, like, yeah, what is this podcast stuff? It's audio. It was right down my lane because I've always been like in sales and service, coming up to 25 years now. 12 to 15 years of that was on the phones. And so I was like, okay, I can do that. I don't like the cameras though. That's something that I wasn't really comfortable with. I love that there's 5. I wish there was 10 now because I really like it just makes me happy. I like
That's
it.
a funny story in itself.
Right, it is, right?
Yeah.
Because and Simeon was actually huge in that because he was like, I think we should record what you're saying. And I was like, okay, bring the cameras on. But the podcast just started with the hopes of a couple of people listening.
Buddy, you're up to 1,000.
Yeah. Like,
Did I just make that up? I suck with
1,000.
numbers.
Yeah, with numbers.
1,300
No, so we're
Sirius like, listen, stop with your numbers. They suck.
yeah. So we're now syndicated. We're syndicated right across North America to about
Good for you, man.
175,000 listeners.
That's awesome.
It started with all real estate because that's what we do.
Yeah.
But then after about 17, 18 episodes, I looked at Simos and Laura, and we all kind of sat in a room, and Laura really was instrumental in that, posing the question, like, what else can we do? Because these, now it's starting to get boring. Like, how many times can you speak about, well, Carmen,
Right?
can you talk to me about how to do a mortgage? Home inspector, can you tell me what to look for?
You're right.
And we said, what are some of our other passions? Well, sports is one. Although I could do a podcast on its own now on sports if I wanted to. But the thing that we were actually living was entrepreneurship.
Good.
It was the hustle really at the start of myself and Simeon. Like, it's our blood, sweat, and tears. Like it was for a very long time. And it was like two guys, 37, 38, 39, going through so many ups and downs, and just like going through it, right? Like the daily grind.
The struggles are real,
the
man.
struggles. Then
They're
learning.
real,
But
man.
those are the blessings. It's the struggles that teach all the lessons.
For sure.
Oh,
Taking
yeah,
those
buddy.
L's is huge,
Oh,
right? And then
yeah.
bringing on team members, right? And then we came cross paths with Laura and how she fits, and then our support staff, the Tylers, the Alas, the Shems, the media squad, Clem, and they're all different. Like Clem, this videographer, is like totally opposite from one of our graphic designers. Like they're just different people, but it's nice to see. It's nice to build the team, and so we wanted to talk about that as well. And that's why we started.
amazing.
That's why we started bringing on entrepreneurs, because it was like, hey, this is a passion of ours. We want to know what worked well for you, what didn't work well for you, and then let people be flies on the walls of our conversations. And just took a life of its own, and people are listening. People are giving us good feedback, and just like yourself, like. You're having fun with it. You can tell. I watch your videos. I listen to you. I'm
Yeah,
sitting
we
here
are.
with the first time we've ever all done this. You're just having fun, and it's kind of cool. It's infectious, right? People who watch and people who listen.
For sure.
You grow your network. You mentioned, I think it was off air, maybe, that you're recruiting now.
Yeah,
mortgage
we're
brokers and
recruiting.
through
We're recruiting,
through
yeah.
this medium. This
We
is just
are.
a medium, right? And
That's all it is.
if there's brokers, mortgage brokers, or real estate people listening, I think the secret sauce in what we're doing is having the self-awareness of figuring out what medium you're comfortable with. And what I mean by that is that if it's video, great. If it's audio, great. Or if it's in written form, find out what you're gonna be like ultra comfortable with, and then go all in on it. Because then what will happen is you'll start to come up with like more opportunities will just come your way. We've been pointing out Laura a lot today.
Laura's killing it with her
she's killing it,
shoes,
right?
though.
Well, aside from the Fashion Friday stuff, her like what she had to get self-aware about was that she was comfortable just writing.
And she does a blog. You have a blog, right?
She'll write a short story.
Yeah, for
You
sure.
know what I mean? Like with Simos, if he wanted to do like this guy can write a blog in a second if he wanted to, right? It's just getting self-aware and then putting yourself out there.
That's amazing. No, it's good. It's good content. You know, I'm all about the positive here. That's what we're all about.
And I will tell you, you're
So-
succeeding in recruiting through this medium because aside from impressing people that you're putting the time into it, some people, like the cynics, will say, "Oh, it's a ploy to look a certain way," when the reality is it's energy, money, and time
Oh,
to
you don't
educate.
have to tell me. I know.
No, yeah, but to
I have my crew.
but you're looking to educate and to help
sure.
the business and the industry to be better. So when you put that much positivity and that much energy and time into something,
Why wouldn't you want to deal with this?
but this is what I mean.
Like,
This is why you're
honestly.
gonna get the best people in the business are gonna reach out.
100%.
How many DMs do we get a day?
Yeah.
Forget it just from clients looking for advice, from like brokers in the business.
100%,
It's
yeah.
insane.
It's look,
But you know, when I first started this, Jazz, my broker told me I was crazy. And I remember I had to get approval on everything. Not naming any names because whatever. But anyways, so he was the one that was fuel. I was 9 months pregnant and he told me, "Oh, you're pregnant. You're 9 months. You can't do it. You can't, do social media." And I had just had my daughter and I met with Jamie and I'm like, this seems very expensive to have a crew with me most of the time, right? And I remember the concept. I hired you just for like design. I think you were designing my website or something. And then you tell me this whole story about social media and I'm like, and then you watch my first videos and you're like, it's bad. But now I'm comfortable. I talk a lot. And I realized that. Jamie's like, you're a good talker when the cameras are off. But as soon as they came on, it was like nerve wracking.
at
But
the
you
start, not
Oh,
now.
buddy, look at the first videos. Can we put
I
a little
know.
bit of the video?
Yeah, do a little.
Yeah, let's do how
our
gross
first
that
videos
video.
are still up.
100%.
Oh,
They're
buddy, our
hilarious.
videos, they're horrible.
Yeah.
They're
I'm reading
hilarious.
off of a
I'll never take them
document.
down.
Yeah, no,
Never.
no, but you see the like I'm involved in, but it was more of the fuel of that guy telling me social media, mortgage, why are you even paying? Like, are you crazy? You're gonna fail, right? He's like, you're gonna fail. And I started off with D, and I had Aaron with me and my husband. There was 4 of us. And if you watch the pictures that we just took, I now have 18 people on my team. And now I'm independently owned and operated.
Right.
So I'm like, how bad is social media? Out of curiosity, right? And you sit back and you think, okay, for all the haters that fueled me, thank you.
Well,
You know what I mean? Thank you.
I mean, the chip on the shoulder is definitely awesome. But just to your point about social media, that just happens to be, again, going back to mediums and
sure.
where people's awareness is right now.
For sure.
I think if us here at the table and everyone here in the room, as long as we're at the forefront of when things change, because if you go back 50, 60, 70 years ago, it was like you got to be on TV. Then it was radio. And before then, it was in papers. Now, we all know that not as many people are watching TV. They're not listening necessarily to the
Where
radio.
are
We got to get on Netflix.
So people are on.
Netflix, it's it. Let's do it, guys.
Well, that's, yeah. Right now, all I can think about when someone says Netflix is The Irishman, and that's coming out in 2 weeks. And that's all I can think about right now. So you took me down to Robert De Niro. Now
I have no comment. I've been listening to this for a freaking month. I can't take it no more.
And so it's like, I think in our business, if you're in any one of like any business from a sales perspective,
sure.
or you want to run for mayor or whatever it is, you got to go where the people are. Period.
sure.
And people are on their phones and they're on 4 to 5 different platforms. So it's actually not that big, like that hard to do, really.
Yeah.
I think where it's tough is being consistent with it. And I'm proud to say
Jamie says that all the time.
that is really the difference maker, because
Yeah.
like, what is, like, you get on a camera and a phone, or you go in selfie mode, but to
Selfie mode.
right, you know what I mean? Like that stuff is quite easy, right? And you'll understand. You can YouTube everything, or Google it, but getting consistent with it, that was something that that's probably the most like what I'm most proud about is
for you,
watching
man.
my team and watching everyone around us be very, very consistent. And even on the days that you don't feel like doing it, you're like, no, you got to do it, because if you don't do it today, then now you're just giving yourself an out the next week.
So I'm gonna say though, I'm the flipper. So
Yeah.
I flip
Yeah.
unless your daughter comes on. So if it's like a kid, I realize that, and I was telling Jamie, I'm like, if a kid comes on, I'm like, oh, she's so cute. So I'll watch the whole video right to the end, because you never know what a kid's gonna say.
Sure.
So I'm like, we should do something with kids.
Well, look, I mean, for anybody who's
But
comfortable
then
with
people are doing that. I'm 100% certain. People are like, she's so cute and she's so sassy, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, it's amazing, right?
If you're comfortable putting kids and pets on your socials,
I'm
that's
really
the-
not.
that's the
I
be-
like
I'm
my
just
kids
saying,
are never.
That's the
on
best
there.
way to get engagement.
You're right. You're right.
It's the thing.
I use your
Or
daughter?
food. Let's get Sophia on
Are we
it.
talking about cupcake learning here? Is this what we're talking about? Are we alluding to cupcake learning?
It's amazing though. So how many platforms are you on? So
Like really on.
Yeah.
It's all like audio platforms. So
Nice.
kind of just bunch them into one: the iTunes, Spotify's, podcasts, like Stitcher, all that kind of stuff. YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and
Nice.
LinkedIn.
nice.
And Twitter.
Yeah, like for me personally, I'm not really that big on the Twitter game, just because I don't have that much time, right? It's something that I want to try to do more of. I personally like Instagram the most, just because it's so user friendly for me. It's easy to do. Facebook as well. And now what we do is we, for each platform, we actually, like for a video we make a video for Facebook. And
That's
then we make a
amazing.
video for Instagram.
Yeah.
I personally don't post the same thing the same day. Like
So
I
it's
will,
not actually you posting; it's your team.
No. So I love that you asked that question. And I appreciate
I
it.
would
Not
like,
one.
I don't post absolutely nothing.
So I
just
post
want to
everything.
emphasize,
There's
except
not-
for my storylines is me.
So no post will go up with, like, I post everything.
Wow,
I-
good for you, man.
And the reason is because I need to be in it. So when Laura or Simeon or Clem ask me or they want to do it themselves, I want the feedback. I'm in it. Like, I got real skin in the game.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
there's not one post that goes out on our company page or like my personal page that's not made by me. It's written by me. It's posted
but that
by
takes
me.
a heavy toll.
Because-
I will say this.
Well,
Yeah,
like
dude,
for
it
me, it
does.
doesn't, and I'll
That's
tell you, like, for the average person in mind, I understand and do as you please. I don't produce anything, so I really want to be very like clear on that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Okay, yeah.
So I don't
That
make
makes
an
sense.
edit at anything,
Oh, okay.
but I mean, a post won't go up without me. So I write
Well,
the caption,
okay,
I write the
that's
comments.
okay. That's the same.
Right? Does that
Okay.
make sense? Because
Yeah,
I
yeah,
really
yeah.
want to feel. I want to feel the market. I want to know what worked, what didn't work. The actual production of it. That's something I gave up long time. Like, I didn't even try it. I don't know how to do it. I wouldn't even know how to produce something. Right? Like,
amazing.
these guys edit it. They do all that kind of stuff. Our media squad, I mean, I know your guys as well. I know them really good, like really well, and they're amazing. That's what they do. It's not our
They're
job.
always answering at 9:30 at night.
Guys,
Thank you, Jamie.
the fact of the matter is, if you take social media seriously, social media will take you seriously.
100%.
It's 100% tied to effort.
Yeah.
The reason that the REC has seen so much success with it is because, or Jazz Channel, or whatever the case may be, whatever energy goes into it comes directly straight out of it. Yeah. And that's what we've tested. Because was there doubts along the way? 100% there was.
Oh,
Plenty
yeah.
of doubts.
So there.
But like test after test after test, after adjustment, after cleanup, after this, we have the data. We have so much of it, in fact, that now we're kind of
We're
predicting
living
things.
exactly that, man. We
And
did
you're
You're
it 2
top
years
of the
ago.
funnel, right? It's
Yeah.
quite easy when you look at it. Like, if you draw it out, it's not
No,
rocket
but if you
science,
didn't
right?
spend the time that you do, so if somebody else was making your posts or they
Yeah.
were automated, we wouldn't have that direct. Like 2 days ago, you shot a video to get direct data within seconds.
Yeah.
So we were testing a concept about one of our books. We're like, well, why don't we just test it?
About who do you wanna talk?
Shoots a
Yeah.
video in 3 seconds flat, puts it to the marketplace. Within 5 minutes before we're done our conversation, there was 3 people who replied that proved the concept correct. Yes?
Yes. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it happens all the time now, right?
So and you can only get that if you invest the time that you have.
Yes, and to add to that, I think just
I thought he was going to say
going-
no.
No.
Here we go.
Just to add to it, it needs to be valuable. If it's self-promotion, it will only last so long. Like,
We've talked about this, Jamie.
It won't go that far. I
Yeah.
mean, Jamie, we keep on calling his name out as well. Like, the stuff that he puts out, it's valuable stuff.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
in actuality, he's giving it away for free. What you're doing, Carmen, a lot of people would look at you and say, what are you, like, nuts? They're supposed to come and see you. And
100%.
Don't, you know, the big word, and this is coming from, like, I'm in sales my whole life. Don't give away the farm. Now the difference is give away the farm, all the animals, everything, milk the cow, give the milk away as well, because they'll all come back after. Most people will, and the ones that don't, you never had them anyways. So it's not that big of a deal, right? And so when you're talking about testing, it really is top of the funnel, and it has to be valuable. Like if it's not valuable content to the consumer, they're just not gonna.
No, but when you give it away, people, the law of reciprocity. Yeah. Instantly. So if you give that and you give that away, why would they go anywhere else?
Well, I'm guilting them.
So true.
I'm like, I was laughing with somebody on my team yesterday. I was like, they're like, what is the real strategy? I'm like, here's the strategy. I'm gonna give it all away, and I'm gonna guilt as many people to come back and use us.
It's true. It's true. That's what we do.
Right? Like,
don't sell yourself, man.
Like you don't.
It's no sales on this podcast. Stop trying to sell yourself, Jazz. So here's something. I'm coming at you, both of you guys. I wanted to do something. Do you guys know the Baby Shark song?
Simos might.
I don't know the Baby Shark song.
Yes, you do. My daddy shark do 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 do. Your kids have to watch that.
I'm a little bit of a fob.
Are you serious? You don't know that? Okay, we're gonna post that. Baby shark do do do. Everybody's doing it on Facebook. I wanted to do it. You don't want to.
That's like that Nardwar.
Listen, this is going down in history. We're gonna do it. I wanted the team to do it. None of the team wanted to do it. My son brought it forward to me, and he's like, "Mommy, can you do the Baby Shark?" You know the Baby Shark.
I'm telling you right now.
If I see
the Baby
it,
Shark, I'll do the Baby Shark. I have no issue doing the Baby Shark. I love sharks.
You've never heard of it. Okay, guys, we're posting it. I know. See, I just got killed. So, anyways, guys, thank you so much for coming in. We are gonna post that Baby Shark thing just so I'm not crazy. But thank you so much for driving all the way over here to talk to us. It was an honor having both of you guys. Seriously, honestly, an honor.
Thank you so much.
I know we've been trying to get together.
and it finally happened. It's just the serendipity how things work sometimes. We're all busy, but huge congrats to you.
Thank
your
you so
husband,
much.
the rest of your team, everyone outside this room, not only for the new digs, which is beautiful to your listeners who can't see it. It's a beautiful, beautiful space. Come and check her out. But also just a huge congrats on all your success. So
thank you so much.
Thank you for what you do for the community.
Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Thank you very much for having us, and congrats on everything you do.
Thanks, man. You guys are awesome. You guys are awesome, man. Love you guys. I always love you guys. So
love ya.
Thank you.